We're going to go ahead and get started then. It's all good.
So welcome to What the Cosplay, cosplaying the part. What the Cosplay is actually going to be a collection of panels touching on different topics for cosplay. It's really interesting. This one is...
Who wants to use the mics?
Yes.
Oh, sorry, okay.
Otherwise, can't record that.
Gotcha. Okay, so we're going to restart. Take two. Hello, welcome to What the Cosplay, cosplaying the part. This is going to be the first of a series of panels that we're going to do throughout Florida and possibly elsewhere, touching on different things about cosplay. This one specifically is cosplaying the part. First off, I guess you'd like to know who we are.
I'll hit the... Okay, here we go.
I'm first. So I'm Sapphire Days Cosplay and Costuming. I started doing this back in 2007, Dark Days. I've been cosplaying for a long time, obviously. I run contests, performed at conventions, all that good stuff. I'm going to school for costume and theater, costume and set design, but that all kind of translates into the cosplay. And that's my social media, everything is Sapphire Days, just to keep it easy.
So I am Tesoro Cosplay. People call me Dan Mark, is a regular nickname. I've been cosplaying and performing since around 2013, performing in a lot of stunt shows and comedy shows and all sorts of skit-based shows, as well as regular cosplaying. It's a lot of fun. And my social media stuff is there in the top right corner. It's all good. And I've just been doing a lot of on and off performing since 2015. It's a lot of fun.
Okay, so one of the most important things I think would be is, why are we here today? So we are here to help guide you on how to, I'm just going to read this because help guide you on how to capture the essence of a character, so in a panel, show, or on the con floor, you can portray that character genuinely for the people watching, or attract them.
So, first step would be choosing a character to cosplay. Usually it's recommended to choose a character that you enjoy and like, because if for whatever reason you become really popular with it or people like that character for you, they'll be hoping that you do it a lot.
Step 2, research. Watch the thing, listen to the thing, read the thing. Obviously it depends on what character you choose. If it's like something from like a podcast, like a character from like any of the D&D games, like Adventures Under Critical Role, you kind of have to listen to the thing. You can kind of watch it, sort of, but if it's animes or movies or anything like that, obviously you're going to watch it. And sometimes people like to read characters from books, like the Percy Jackson series. And there you want to read everything you can. Also, like Wikipedia is a great place, especially for video games. If you're doing video game characters, that's actually one of the hardest ones to get because you have, especially like fighting games, you have very little to go off of, and Wikipedias are usually your best bet.
Okay, so step 3, body, voice, and mind. Pretty much adopting the character's personalities and traits into your own. Okay, so for body we have watch the thing, listen to the thing, read the OG thing, fanfics, good ones.
Yeah, don't read the bad ones because they tend to kind of go AWOL with characterization, like how characters actually act, and then you do more like fan service way of acting things, which you can do. There's nothing wrong with that, but if you want to stay like super true to the character, you want to stick to things that are more, hello, welcome, things that are more true to that actual character.
And then YouTube, other fan stuff, fan works for YouTube. Be wary a little bit of TikTok, sometimes they can exaggerate the characters a little much.
Or they'll use like sound bits that don't fit the character,
But overall, pretty much absorb everything about that character, so you know what position they sleep in. So, and also the mannerisms. Do they have a tick?
Yeah, so, I don't know, are you guys familiar with Boku no Hero, My Hero Academia at all? Shigaraki, he does that scratching thing. That's a tick. Not all characters have it, but there are some characters that have like very specific things. Gogeta, we saw a panel by Miss Valentine on Friday, and she was talking about how many times he smirks. He tends to smirk a lot, and I never noticed that. So, because I didn't do the research on the character. So that's kind of what we mean by like, do they have a tick?
Side note about ticks is just because a character has a tick doesn't mean that you have to walk around always doing that tick. It's a pick and choose kind of thing. How do they walk?
Oh, this is the fun part.
Yeah. How the character walks, that's kind of important because it's also showcasing that character. Because if you've ever noticed, there's a lot of different ways to walk. You first.
Okay, so, this also helps a lot when you're doing these specifically for interactions with people, especially if you're walking around a con floor and you're kind of trying to go a little bit above and beyond just being like a regular con but cosplaying. Because you can just walk through a con and just go like, blah, 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 I'm going through a con. But say, do you guys know Ruby at all?
Yeah.
Okay, so I cosplay Yang. Yang does not walk like this. She is very much this. Like, she's just, I own this. She has a little bit of a bounce, she's a little sassy. But then you have characters like Catwoman who are more just like this.
Catwalk.
Yeah, literally a catwalk. So like, knowing your character's walk will help put you a little bit up there versus differentiating you from the normal. Now for some of the guys,
Guys.
do.
Yeah, a lot of different ways to walk. You could have characters think like Fist of the North Star or JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, who's just walking chest out all the time, ready to punch someone in the face at any moment. Then you have characters like Waluigi. And stuff like that embodies the characters that pretty much is like, yeah, this character just popped out of the game, now they're walking around this con floor. Oh my god.
Yeah,
I gotta take control.
and sometimes it's really cool, like as a convention goer, to kind of like see someone and they're kind of coming towards you, but they're just like in that character and have someone coming up to you as a deal like this, and you're just kind of like, I'm out of here. Or they'll kind of do that and then be like, oh, can I get your picture? You're really cool. And then just like,
But it can also be a case of it looks more inviting and approachable, because how many times, if you see someone walking with their head down on their phone in character, and they're hoping somebody talks to them, but they're not really inviting, they're not inviting enough in order to have someone approach them. Like, oh, I don't walk.
you want to be approachable even if you're playing a bad guy.
Playing a bad guy's fun. I think we're going to touch on that in a moment.
Yes. Oh,
JoJo back again.
can't do it because my shirt's not right. Try to do Jorno, it's not working.
Poses and how they stand. Stand. I mean, a lot of characters have very iconic poses and how they stand. Like, our best example is Jotaro specifically. How he just has that point, and he just looks so cool pointing. He's just like, wow, I would love to get punched by that guy.
Yeah, or even like, obviously you're guys, so you're probably not going to cosplay like sweet female characters, but they'll stand, they'll kind of just stand like this. Or if you're like a character that just kind of stands like this. Or like, posing is just as important, and not just like posing like super dynamic poses for like photo shoots and like taking photos, but even just like how you're posing how you're standing when you're not walking, if that makes sense.
Unless the character doesn't have it.
Waluigi versus Dio.
Yeah, it's just
Rolling your shoulders back. That's a really good habit to get into because I know I have that habit of sometimes. I have a natural slouch. I think a lot of us do. So like, even with like Yang, I have to remind myself every now and then just pick it all back up because she wouldn't walk around like this. Even if she'd just be like, ah.
yeah, just shoulders up and back, relaxing, chest up.
Better for your back.
Unless you're a JoJo character, you just break your spine in several places.
Yeah, you just gotta remove it for the weekend and you're good to go.
Voices.
You're going to see this watch, listen, read the thing a lot because it's all kind of, that's how you absorb these characters. Obviously, voices are kind of hard to get when you read, but audiobooks. Sometimes you'll get a really good narrator that does voices that kind of gives you an idea of what they might sound like. Same thing, fanfics. Sometimes people like reenactment. And
Oh no, some fanfics people can reenact them, people can read them themselves, and they'll put it on YouTube with their own voices of how they feel the characters are saying things. I've seen some good examples and a lot of bad examples.
Just like fanfics. YouTube is, again, another great resource. People like to, you know, do little skits or like doing the fanfics. They'll put it up in like comics and fan animations and all of that. End of the day, just like anything else, absorb everything you can. Good and bad, because you can even watch something that like isn't exactly the best or how you would think it was and be like, okay, I don't want to do those things. It's totally okay. Just don't go in the comments and be like, God, you suck. That's mean. And we want to be nice in this community. Okay. So some characters have accents, and depending on, some people are just naturally good at picking up accents. I have to work really, really hard on it. I tried to do British and discovered an Australian accent. And I still can't do British because it's close. It's close, but it's not quite. But it's interesting too. So this book right here is actually a book that was recommended to me by one of my acting teachers, and it is phenomenal. Like apparently now it comes with like an online thing that you can follow. Mine has a CD, which I can't play on anything anymore. But where it comes from now? Alright, I'll hold on that. But accents, video tutorials are another. There's so many tutorials on it because performers have been doing their thing for a long time. Lots of people want to be performers, and so we're making tutorials for this. And it helps us too, especially with characters with straight accents.
Cadence and inflection.
So like cadences and inflections. I mean, it's kind of it's not quite as common for guys. It's kind of a male character that has a lot of like
Cartoon characters.
Mickey Mouse. Mickey Mouse has a lot of. Yeah.
Would you describe it as like how the character thinks through their voice, like the filler words?
Kind of. It's kind of more like. What's the best way to explain it?
Or is it just tone shifting?
It's kind of more tone shifting, but not quite like whether they speak really high or low. It's kind of like what syllables they stress.
Okay.
So, yeah,
No,
but it does apply to like filler words and stuff like that. I would definitely say that that definitely applies.
Yes. No, I agree. There's some characters, mostly in anime, they'll kind of add in extra words or have some kind of verbal tick that they'll add in before starting their sentence.
Or like those really like aggressive, like happy Japanese male characters. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like Kuwabara is a good example.
Whoa!
He does a lot of all over the place type of
I'm gonna
thing.
kick your ass.
Yeah, that kind of stuff.
Getting the whole thing.
You're
Oh my
better
God.
believe
Could
it.
you imagine if someone dressed up as your machine went to the Hulk Hogan book each store down the road? That'd be hilarious. So, there's another thing, pitch. Some characters talk really, really high,
Some talk really low.
and some are right in the middle. And it changes from, like, especially for anime and video games, the Japanese voice actor versus the English voice actor. I know I recently was listening to, I was watching the Boku no Hero manga, because I cosplay Toga, and I expected her voice to be a lot higher than it was. And in the Japanese, it is kind of higher, but in the English, she's more like medium pitch like me, and I was just like, I was not expecting this, but I like it because it won't strain my voice quite as much. But it was really interesting to kind of listen to the voice, how it's different in Japanese versus English. Attack on Titan is really guilty of being very different between the two.
That's true.
Yeah, so that's a good thing to pick up on. Okay, where you're speaking from has to do with both the accent that you're doing, if you're doing an accent, and how to talk for a long time without getting too tired. Diaphragm is your best friend. You want to speak and talk from your diaphragm. If you ever want to practice, look up projecting exercises for actors. It'll teach you how to breathe from your diaphragm instead of your lungs. Because with your lungs, you'll run out of air really quickly. Where when you speak with your diaphragm, one, you have more power behind your voice, and you don't get as tired as quickly.
That's how you're able to yell real loud from across the room when you're trying to get someone's attention.
One of my favorite exercises that we've done before is we would be outside. Like a lot of the shows and stuff we do, we rehearse outside, so we have to practice production. And we'll get in lines and yell, "That's my sword," back and forth, and just get further and further apart. It's really fun. So just go out with your friends, go outside and yell about swords. It's a good time. Before I get to the price, where you're speaking from as far as accents. So different accents actually come from different parts of your mouth. Like the American accent is kind of like, this is gonna sound really weird, kind of the front middle of your mouth, where Australian's kind of further back, and British is like towards the front of your mouth. You're kind of speaking out, kind of out of your teeth, sort of. If you go and watch like tutorials on accents, they'll probably touch on this. And then you have characters like, do you guys know Critical Role at all? Yes. Okay, so I'm working on Jester. The accent's horrible, but hers is like, let's see. Jester. She switches. It's kind of like sometimes when she says like, "Hi, I'm Jester," that comes out the front. Yeah, Laura Bailey's character. But sometimes she'll like talk real low and then it falls back here. So some of them are a little weird because hers is Eastern European, but it's also kind of just Laura Bailey being Laura Bailey. So like where you're speaking from in your mouth will help you with the character. So if you're working on somebody and it just doesn't sound right, try, as weird as it sounds, focusing it in a different part of your mouth, and it might come out smoother. And that's follows into the next thing, practice. Like, do dishes and talk to yourself. Like, talk to your pets. Talk to your friends. They'll probably think you're crazy, unless you're like, hey, I'm gonna practice this thing, so I'm gonna talk like this person. But that's the biggest thing. You can't be good at anything if you don't practice.
No, practice is everywhere. Like, it took me a while to nail down something that kind of resembles a Shrek voice that I would use for certain fan fiction, because I like to do fan fiction readings every now and then.
You can do it. He's one of those people that are really good at accents.
Kind of. I bet you weren't expecting that. Not the best.
It's easier when you have a fan fiction.
Yes, it is.
That's another thing. Practicing improv in the voice is hard. But like, if you sit down and you just practice it, you'll get it. Another good way to practice is get a book and read the book out loud in the character's voice. Sounds real silly, but the more practice you have, the real good. Learn how to do it safely. So this is really important for the sake of your vocal cords, because the last thing you want to do is end up with a character, because some characters have really like gravelly voices, and people have a tendency to put a lot of strain on your vocal cords for those characters, and long term that can be super detrimental to you, because ultimately you want to take care of your vocal cords. That is the most important thing in doing voice work. I mean, if you look up anything where voice actors talk about how they take care of their voices, it's similar to singers, things like that. Doing everything you can to learn how to do it safely if you want to do this a lot is super, 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 super important. Because you only have one body.
For now.
For now.
We'll get robot bodies. Okay, now we're going on to mindsets. Again, watch the thing, listen to the thing, read the OG thing, fanfics things. YouTube other fan stuff and absorb everything. So a lot of this involves understanding how the character thinks, so that if someone interacts with you, you would understand what your character would do. The best example I can think of was a show that I did back in 2015, where I got to play the role of Handsome Jack in Borderlands. And I just got to pull out his voice, I had to understand how he would treat people, because I was interacting with a lot of people, because this was for MetroCon's Masquerade. So, I would come out with, "Hey, how's it going? Hey, I couldn't help but notice you standing there, and it's starting to bug me. So why don't you go and go somewhere away from here before I end up having to shoot you?"
But you know, like that person left and was just like, the Handsome Jack said he was going to shoot me. It was the coolest thing ever. Because obviously we're not going to.
I had a nerve though.
Okay, you could have. But yeah.
So a lot of the mindset stuff, like I said, like with Handsome Jack specifically, You have to understand his motivations. You have to understand the character's history, how he got to that point, why he acts the way he does, and if they were approached by XYZ character, how they would react. Yes?
So you said it a few times about fanfiction. How much do you think about the character changing outside of the actual original content? And how much do other people actually see that character more outside of the fan-made content instead of the original?
That's a big thing that's kind of up for debate, because I know there's a couple of things recently that people are just like, oh, I don't like how this character's doing it, but it's like they're the person who's doing the character. So it really depends on the fandom.
From things that I've seen, especially around in the Smash community, and how people see like characters like Mark and Mike, who are in their original game just kind of bland characters, but outside of it, in their kind of fan universes, they're kind of these like exaggerated, like Mark is a much more like look down on people prince, like better than you, while in his actual game he's just the normal hero guy. So how much do you think like even with like fan fiction with Ruby and stuff like that?
No, I totally understand the
Would you
question.
play into those?
Gauge your audience. That's
Yeah.
the best thing to do.
It does, it's not a crime to go to kind of follow the memes a little bit when you're interacting with people that are clear fans and absorb a lot of the fan content. Because yeah, Mark and Ike are very normal, essentially, in their universes. And then they put them in the Smash, and all of a sudden, you got Ike,
Fucking love hamburgers.
and Mark just being he's almost on the same level of memery as Link. You know how that goes.
Yeah, and I think also Smash kind of gave characters the opportunity to be more than just their base game. So that is kind of a like special circumstance, because like even like Waluigi would not be as popular if it wasn't for his lack of being in Smash. And I actually have a really good friend named Micah who cosplays Waluigi. He does the interaction thing on there, but he's that really over the top, like I should be in Smash, like "Wah," going around the con thing, and he plays into that, and people eat it up. Like I sat there for 20 minutes just watching him at Metro interacting with people, and it was great.
Depending on the audience, there's nothing wrong with kind of pandering to the fandom a little bit, especially when there's characters as open-ended as say Ike and Mark, because although they were in the games, the reason that they're popular isn't because of the games, if that makes sense. It's more because of the memory. So I personal opinion, there's not much wrong with pandering to that.
It's more of like when you're starting to act and be in their mindset, would you rather stay faithful to the original content, or do you want to go and lean towards more that people actually enjoy from the character?
I think it would depend on the character, because there's some times where the fans take a character and put them so out of context that they kind of lose who they were. I've seen that actually a lot in the Ruby fandom, and it's kind of like you're kind of losing what the character was about. So like the people who are, it's usually a small group of people that kind of push that more like exaggerated, for some things, not all things obviously. Like I said, Smash is its whole other beast, and that community is great. But yeah, I would, as far as like cosplaying goes, we do a show called Retro City Warfare. It's a stage combat / wrestling show, and we did a year that was a lot of Smash fights and stuff. And I was in a fight. I was Samus fighting with Rosalina, and we were fighting Kyo, which isn't even in Smash. He was just there. And Daisy's the one I thought?
Yes.
Yeah, it was Christina, it was Daisy. And like, we didn't always stay in character just because it didn't quite work. Like, I was angry a lot because I had Rosalina who was basically useless to me. But like, we did some pretty silly things because we knew it was Smash and we could kind of have fun with it. Whereas if I was like walking around as like Samus by herself, I'd probably be a little more on the serious, like.
No, there's definitely, it's a balancing act of how far to stray away from the original source material, because you have your source, you have the memes, but then you have people just recreating the character completely and just completely throwing everything else out the window. Because usually the memes are at least somewhat established with the source, but there are people that say way too far with it, and it's like, why even have this character be Ike? Just make your OC. Make your Sonic OC and call it a day. Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
A good exercise to do to kind of get into the mindset of a character, this kind of falls into the practice section, is foibles. If you look up foible worksheet, I know it sucks because it sounds like homework, but it's actually super, super helpful. It'll give you, like, there's one in particular that I found that was like, you're talking about specific quirks, not like superhero, Boku no Hero quirks, but just like quirks that the character may have, like, why do they have this quirk? What does it do? How do they develop it? Like, and it kind of goes through all that, and you have to kind of sit there and think about, okay, this character does this because of this. It kind of goes into research, but it's kind of like a deeper delve into it. Some foible worksheets are huge, and some are really small. It's all about just kind of finding what works for you to help you build this character. Because I'm a person, I love writing stuff down. It's one of the ways I remember things, and it kind of helps with that character building, if that makes sense. Additional helpful stuff.
Helpful stuff.
Do you want to?
Let's keep going.
Tropes. Character types. Kind of staple personalities that kind of like, it's an umbrella in itself and a lot of things fall under it. That's what people kind of build things off of. Just because it's called a trope doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. Because sometimes people use it kind of derogatorily. Oh, this character is this type and I don't like him.
And it kind of helps you get a baseline for the character. So you have XYZ character that you chose. What trope do they fit into? To kind of help you start building the character. And we have some examples that we're going to have you guys name some characters that fit those.
No, why not? Stoic badass. Who's the first person that comes to mind when you think stoic badass? Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what I think you have.
Really?
No, I didn't. Not off the bat. I should have.
That's like the defining
Yes.
Sure, probably Kenshiro.
Yes.
Guts, yes.
Yeah.
Femme Fatale.
Fatal. Besides Catwoman.
Samus.
Huh?
Yeah.
Lust. Lust, yes. Very femme fatale.
Very. Definitely.
Yes.
Headstrong Shonen Protag. I can name them right off the
Every
bat.
shonen protagonist ever.
Who the hell do you think I am?
No, he's a different category.
Really? Oh yeah, he wasn't the protagonist.
Really?
Listen, friend.
Favorite pick on Shonen Jump.
Yeah,
Can
Naruto.
you? Yeah.
Naruto.
Naruto, Luffy.
He's very headstrong. He's headbutt people. He's headstrong.
Yeah, I'd say he's pretty headstrong. Headstrong meaning more like confident, yeah, going into it, hopeful.
Even if you're a little bit on the naive side, you're still going in headstrong.
The mom, not necessarily the mother, but characters that kind of fit this like mom-esque role.
I'm personally drawn to blank.
Yang kind of fits that role at times.
A little bit, yeah. It could be like the mom or like the big sister trope.
Yeah. It's someone who's like, let's all get along, kind of.
Yeah. They're usually also the moe character. Sometimes they either play the mom-esque character or the like clueless, ditzy. See, all my examples are really different.
Go for it anyway.
I would say like in the Melancholy Haruhi Suzumiya, Michiru is kind of that trope. Even though like you don't know it until later on in the series, she's definitely like that type of character.
Yeah, that's common.
No, it's not common. There's a category for common. Don't
Listen, I
worry.
like common.
Well, they're supposed to be it.
Oh,
One for all.
yeah.
From Avatar. Old man.
Iroh. That's a good one. I was thinking like Kakashi. Or if you watch Demon Slayer, I can't pronounce his name, but the dude with the mask that teaches all this stuff. He was very much.
Rain.
The sage mental. Iroh is such a good example. Oh my god, I can't believe I didn't think of that.
Or is the example.
He is a great example.
And headstrong protagonist is Zuko.
Yes. Yeah.
Protagonist in quotes, but he gets married.
Yeah.
Protagonist.
Zuko has like the best character like development of anything I think I've ever seen. The tsundere.
Zuko.
Accurate. And I like that it's a male example, because one thing I was going to say is typically this fits to, like, people think tsundere, they think, like, female characters, and they're just like, oh, I don't like you, ugh, but I actually like you. But no, there's definitely male tsunderes out there.
Winry.
Yeah, Winry.
Someone did an entire piece of how like the tsundere trope has changed over time, where before it was supposed to be like a sliding scale, where they were hostile and now they're more daring, instead of this kind of hot cold back and forth that goes over time.
Yeah, it's definitely changed over the years. And that also happens because our community got so much bigger over the last like 10 years. Like when I first started, I didn't tell anyone I worked with that I went to conventions or did cosplay, because it was not something you told people, because they would think it's like weird. Weird stuff. I mean, it is weird, but now it's getting to the point where like, I can be like, yeah, I can't, come to rehearsal this week because I've got to go to a convention to work. And they're just like, okay, have fun, like take pictures. Even people that don't really know what it is are still interested in it. It's really funny talking to some of my older professors who are like, I keep hearing about this thing, what is this? And I'm just like, hopefully you get it.
And one of those older professors.
This
That's what we big bro going in.
So besides comic book, who would you say fits this category? It kind of overlaps a little bit with the mentor. A little bit, but this is like it's hard when you're put on the spot.
Sasuke's older brother.
Yeah, a
Later
little bit.
down the line.
Yeah. Yeah. Jiraiya,
Yeah.
to a degree, kind of is kind of a meld between the mentor and the big bro. Because the big bro is also kind of irresponsible sometimes, and the mentor tends to be a little more responsible character. I just realized both my examples died, but
Is Big Bro also like the big sis?
it would be similar. Just the big bros tend to be a little more brash than the big sisters.
Because again, I'm going back to the game.
Yeah. She's a bro.
Yeah.
She's a total
She's
bro.
an enabler.
She owns
She is. That's why I cosplay her.
If we're going there, we might as well just have to throw in a Sailor Jupiter.
Yeah. She also kind of fits the mom too, though, because she is kind of the like more responsible of the group. Mercury too is a little bit of a mom. She's also kind of like big sis mom.
New. Yeah. No, he's like a headstrong shoulder protagonist who's also a hero. And then sometimes it's also those characters that kind of just like go. Well, Saitama, to a degree, I would say fits in kind of the new category at times. Even though he knows what he's doing, it's kind of just, Yeah, you're right. I agree. He knows how to punch things.
he does.
But then he wants to be, if he joins a hero organization, he'll make money.
Yeah. Okay.
Additional helpful stuff, and then in big words,
Practice. And it doesn't have to be perfect. I know they say like perfect practice makes perfect or whatever.
I mean, it does. Just like getting good at video games.
It does. Like, obviously if you're practicing things incorrectly, you're gonna learn and get that muscle memory and all that incorrectly. So you do want to practice properly. Just don't put so much pressure on yourself to be perfect, because perfect is ambiguous, in my opinion. And I think it puts too much pressure on people. I don't know.
Yeah, big nail. It won't
Yeah,
be,
yeah.
The world won't end if you can't get it spot on, where people will practically finish the ground.
Yeah. Okay, so this is talking more of like while you're out being that character, both for yourself and for other people. This is a big thing that's come up recently, and I'm glad it has because it's been an issue, but consent. You have a great example.
Which one?
Consent?
The one that I was talking about before? Okay, this is story time. This is an example I like to use when it comes to consent, because for a while, it was a big issue. Specifically, Deadpool cosplayers. Within the past, it's toned down a little bit over the years, but back when it was a little bit more mainstream in the community to cosplay Deadpool, people were using cosplaying as Deadpool as an excuse to play pranks and act out and be wild and random to strangers, and just walk up to people and do something wacky, random, and unacceptable.
And sometimes inappropriate.
that. The specific example I can think of is this one Deadpool cosplayer. He approached me and a friend she was doing a bunny suit cosplay, and he walks on up, he puts his face nearly right into her chest, and he says, "Nice tatas," because and then he runs off. It's not right. That's the invading someone's personal space and saying inappropriate things.
Yeah. But at the same time, if you're being a character like Jiraiya, who's known to be a little bit of a perv, you have to keep in mind that people still have bubbles. And you don't want to get in those bubbles. You can drop the character for a second and be like, hey, are you okay if I do this? For like a picture or an interaction or something. And just make sure they're okay with it. Usually they'll forgive you for dropping the character for 2 seconds to make sure it's okay. Because I don't like my bubble invaded by anyone I don't know. I don't know about y'all, but I'm very happy glomping went out of style. Do you guys know what that is?
Yes.
Do you know what glomping is? It's like a running tackle hug. It is like the worst thing for cosplayers to ever have happened. It used to be a huge problem in the community.
It's one thing to get tackle hugged by someone you know, but imagine that happening from a stranger.
Yeah, especially if you're in a cosplay you work really hard on and it breaks. Like, at least to your friend you would be like, you gotta pay for that. Fix that. Hopefully they respect you enough to do it. But, yeah. So consent, super, 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 super important.
Oh.
Sorry, and might I add on to that, please make sure, especially if they look underage, if they're underage, tell them no.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Sure.
Yeah, and it's hard because people, I'm 31.
Jeez.
Yeah,
No,
see,
okay.
exactly. So like, I know people that are in their early 20s that still look like they're like 15, and I'm just like, better safe than sorry. It's always, girls and guys, like, you're always better safe than sorry. That's why I always ask first,
Yeah, there's no harm in asking questions and asking for permission.
even if you have to drop character for a second.
Okay, next up is mental preparation for reactions. And this can be a little bit on the tricky side, because if you're playing a villain who did something heinous or mean in the anime or manga or source material, there'll be people that'll be angry at you for no reason, although you've done nothing wrong, your character did. Therefore, you deserve to get yelled at in public.
And they'll do it.
They'll do it.
So it's just like prepping yourself for that, because I've seen posts and I've seen people posting about wanting to cosplay characters that, are kind of, they're meant to be hated. And they're just kind of like, I'm worried about doing this because I'm afraid people are going to be mean to me. And my advice to them is always, if you're afraid of that and you can't handle that, don't do it. Like, you have to steel yourself and you have to have a backbone when it comes to stuff like that.
Because there are varying degrees. You can have someone point at you from across the room, like, hey, you're a jerk, how dare you killed my favorite character. And then you'll have people that'll get in your face and kind of want to push you, practically assault you, just because they don't like that character so much. But it all depends on, it really does depend on just how well in the head they are. Some people are, there's varying degrees.
Well, and it's also like, one thing I love about this community is the passion that it has for these characters, and sometimes people take it a little too far. And some people do kind of have trouble separating reality from the story. And sometimes they can get a little difficult. So you have to just be prepared for that. But that actually leads in really good to the next one. Know when to drop your character. If someone's going too far with you, drop the character and tell them to back off. Like, usually that works.
I highly recommend not punching people in the face
Yeah.
if they get too close. That's what con security's for.
Yeah. Security's usually got your back. At least the combat does it.
Oh yeah, no, for example, MetroCon, they have a whole squad of people dedicated to protecting the patrons. And if someone needs to get physically removed, they're very, very capable of doing it.
Yes. It's a little bit harder at bigger cons like MegaCon. But luckily there's so many people there. Usually if you run into a person like that, you can usually lose them as long as you can get away from them. And I know when I'm walking around, I kind of keep an eye out too, because I've worked a lot of cons, so like, and I'm also a cosplayer, so I kind of like observe what's going on. If I see somebody that's kind of in like a weird situation or whatever, I'm confident enough to go in and be like, hey, let's back off. Because some people try and get into these things and they're not prepared, and then they freeze up when someone's being aggressive towards them. They don't know what to do. So, especially as an older person in this community, I think we all have to kind of watch out for each other. It works really well when you're a character who's like kind of badass, because then you kind of use the intimidation of the character. But yeah, you're fine. Any questions? It's close enough. I'm using Halloween stuff. Look, I started going on more nights opening night, beginning of September. Mixed Stuff is Scary started in August.
Yeah.
It's insane.
I mean, they're already pushing out Christmas stuff at Cracker Barrel.
Yeah. Big Lots has Christmas stuff on there. But do you have any questions in general? Like, this is open to literally anything. You might have questions about cosplay or acting.
If you're giving this information to, say, younger people, like teens and stuff, what would be the biggest thing you would say? What would be the biggest thing?
Just as far as like getting into character,
Yeah.
honestly having fun with it. Because that is the ultimate thing. If you want to do this, even though you're putting all this practice and stuff into it, you want to have fun with it. Because what's the fun of putting a lot of work into something that's not fun? But also stress that if they want to faithfully portray a character, they have to put the work in. Like, nothing happens without work. But make sure that the end result is fun. Otherwise, why use it? And it would be
So I've only cosplayed before, and the thing that usually stops me from cosplaying that I actually like is not going to look like. So what would you say to people who are interested in cosplay, but want to also be like these characters in a way that is really faithful to their kind of aesthetic?
do it.
Do it, right?
Just do it. If you can grab the essence of that character, people will usually look over the fact that you don't look exactly like that.
That's
Yeah.
Cosplay really is for everyone. I believe that a lot. It's almost impossible to 100% make it. If you prefer to cosplay characters that would more similarly to you, body shape-wise, all that fun stuff, go for it. But don't let that stop you from cosplaying other characters if you like.
And another thing to look up, because a lot of people are just like, oh, I can't use characters, I don't look like them. Outside of, I would say, natural skin color, because it's kind of a big taboo in changing your skin color for a cosplay. That's not an unnatural color. Look up makeup tutorials, because I have friends that, like, I don't even recognize them at cons because they look completely different than how they did yesterday. Just because of makeup and wigs. Like, it helps so much.
Makeup is modern day magic.
It's amazing. And special effects makeup is a lot of fun. It's a lot of work and it gets expensive, but if you can really get into, like, I was watching Waluigi stuff because I think it's hilarious. There's a fan video that somebody had made about, like, Waluigi getting revenge for Smash, and he ends up beating up Luigi. But the guy had, like, the prosthetic nose and this prosthetic chin, and it just kind of, like, took it a little bit further. And I know nowadays, especially nowadays, there's kits you can buy. And, like, there's, in D&D, there's the furbolgs, which are kind of like these, I don't even know how to describe them. They're like droopy, kind of elf ears, but they're droopier, and they have, like, these wide set, kind of, like, noses. But they have kits for them, like latex kits that you can just paint. And there's just tutorials with so much that can help you to kind of make you feel more like the character if you don't think you look like them, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Actually, completely unrelated, because this is going to sound weird back. But what do you think for kind of gender swap-based characters? What do you think about how you should change them? Like, does the character change any when you are going from male to female, and then how do you change the character?
It's situational for the character.
Yeah, it's very context heavy for the character. There's nothing wrong with bringing in traits of that character over and crossing them over. It is a tricky question, but I think the most important part of it would be to still continue to have that essence of the character and be recognizable as that character.
I would say, yeah, because if you change the trope too much, you're losing who the character is. when all in all you're really just changing the gender. Like Yang would be a good example of a character that doesn't need to change a whole lot. Because I think a male Yang and a female Yang are very similar. But a character like that would kind of be different.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some characters that would kind of lose the essence of what they stand for, especially drawn a little bit. For some reason, perfect women are a little more accepted than perfect men, which is kind of weird.
Yeah, Naya would be really hard to
It would be. It wouldn't quite get the same essence.
There are some characters that would just be perfect gender swaps. Like Captain Falcon would still be continue to be amazing.
Yeah. Actually, we did I dragged him on the event called Bunny Hutch, where it's basically like people come in bunny suits. We did a smash group, and we had a female Captain Falcon. It was great. Okay. But like, there's some characters like I know a lot of people don't like the series Sword Art Online.
I like it mainly like the abridged version.
See, my thing was
So yes.
super small rant. The show would be better if it followed Asuna, not Kirito.
Yes.
And that's kind of what I was talking about. Asuna is one of my favorite characters because she is number 2 in her guild before Kirito joined because it's broken. But she got there because she was good. And not to say that good female game players don't exist. There
I thought she got good because of the very first.
Yeah, oh no, she was a complete newbie at the beginning. And then the next time she meets her, she's, way up there in the guild. And I think if you did a gender swap for her, you would kind of lose that like female empowerment that she gives because she's so strong. And also if you get through the Alfheim arc and see Mothers of Zarya, which is like a series of like 4 or 5 episodes, it's all about her. Yes, that one. Yes. With the sick girl. Like, the other girl, I cannot believe I can't remember her name, it was so long ago when I watched it, but,
The design set.
she wouldn't partner up with anyone who couldn't beat her, but Asuna could. So, like, that's a really important aspect of Asuka's character, so if you turn her into a boy, I'd just be like, oh, it's another character. So, it really depends on the character.
Yeah, essentially does.
But if you want to, like, gender swap a character to cosplay, go for it. Like, 100%. I'm not saying don't do it.
I might get around looking like another character.
Are there any characters you have in mind specifically?
Right now, I used to back when I actually.
Oh, what about
Where do you stay?
I'm over in
Okay.
You should check out Holiday Matsuri then.
I get a lot of kids stuff because that's actually something I wanted to ask was these kind of newer designs that you actually have to think about design yourself. Do you work with artists at all, or do you try and make design yourself? Do you put some other things and trying to use some cosplay that isn't necessarily canon or something that's
I personally do a mix of things. Like right now I'm working on Just for Critical Role, and I'm kind of pulling from like stuff I've seen other cosplayers do the official arts. They have one artist that drew one picture of the version of Jester I'm doing.
I see animation all the time.
Yeah, and I also like, I kind of see what they do too, just to kind of get an idea of like how this works in kind of a more realistic way. And like, if it's something you want to do where you take a character, oh, I want this character, but I kind of want to change some stuff. I'd say go for it, and use whatever resources you feel is right. Like, if you pull from an artist that isn't like, I mean, guys don't really pull from No Flutter all that much, but like No Flutter, Hannah Alexander, the ones that put up things, they're usually okay with people cosplaying it. They'll say if they're not. But like, if you find like a version you really like that somebody drew, it's always a good idea to message the artist to get their opinion. Because sometimes it might be a commission for somebody. I know Sunset Dragon is another one that does a lot of like alternative designs for characters. They'll actually put in there, this was done for a person, do not cosplay.
Asking for permission is good. Crediting once it's completed is also, it's very polite.
It's a weird dynamic because when you're first learning how to illustrate, if someone just randomly pulls your stuff offline and cosplays it, it's actually quite flattering. It's like, oh my god, this person did it. So it's kind of a weird mindset even when you're outside. It's like, am I making this person's day or am I actually completely ruining this person's career?
I 100% understand that. It varies from artist to artist, because some artists are very, very protective of their work, and that's it's their right to do so if that's how they feel about it. And other people say, oh wow, oh my gosh, you've made my years of cosplay a character I designed, I'm gonna faint. Oof.
Yeah, and usually just so it's mutually beneficial because we are in kind of a world of social media, and like I think everyone would like recognition for what they do, especially when other people use it. I've definitely had like, not personally, but like I have artist friends that have done things and they're just like, hey, if anyone wants to use this, just please credit me. Or if they find someone that used their design, they'll just shoot them a little message and be like, hey, you know, this is my design, blah blah blah. Usually it works out okay. But we do also live in a world of a ton of art theft constantly, even big companies are doing it. So it's definitely, I would definitely, yeah, it's definitely flattering if someone, like if I was good at designing stuff, I'd be designing stuff all the time. I'd be like, cosplay it all, please.
I would say that in this regard, the old mantra of it's easier to ask for forgiveness than get permission, I kind of, when it comes to this kind of stuff, I kind of like to reverse it. It's just in good taste to ask for that permission. And I have seen some cases where someone says, hey, can I cosplay your design? And the person says, no, you're not. Okay, well, I'm going to do it anyway. That's more. It's rude and it can't technically stop you, but it's word of mouth gets around that kind of stuff, especially if it's a more popular cost.
I've actually had instances where I've gotten designed, like, hey, I know this design, I'm not going to cosplay it. Or it's like, I'd rather you not. I didn't push past that and said, okay, have a good day, thank you, and then just moved on from there. But usually, like, I always message the artist and use their art. Just even if, like, 'cause there was one recently that I found that somebody else had asked, but there's no actual answer. The artist had just liked it, but the person was making a costume. So it's like, they might have said okay to that specific person. I didn't want to just assume, so I went ahead and messaged her. And she was just like, oh my gosh, please do it. Oh my gosh, I can't believe Lola. It's so cute. She's so excited. I'm really excited to make it. But,
So when you boil it down, it's just the very smallest artist.
yeah.
It's a good game.
And if you're making something that's, if you're designing a character or something and you want people to cosplay it, you can even add that in your thing. Be like, feel free to cosplay and just credit, or please credit, things like that.
It's just like on an old example now, because nobody who uses that site anymore, Tumblr, where there were some things that people would ask, okay, yeah, this is okay to retweet, or this is not retweet.
So do not repost.
Oh yeah, whoops.
You're good. It's a Twitter blog now.
Everyone else got some great.
Did that answer your questions?
Any other questions?
Cosplay in general.
Cosplay in general, questions for us personally, performing that because we're pretty close to the end. It's 3:10.
Yeah, we're getting.
We still have some time.
We have some time. Like it was like an hour, like we planned. Yeah, we're on the question portion of the thing.
We've gone through a lot of information.
About performing as a character, but we're also taking questions of just cosplaying in general.
At this point.
So which would you say is more important? The sort of trope or attitude of the character or the costume?
I personally would say that the attitude kind of beats that out because not everyone's going to be able to make a complete costume, or they can make a costume that's themed or based off of that original design. So it's kind of like a casual version of some people doesn't know it. For instance, you can still capture that essence.
Yeah, costume is important to a degree because you have to be recognized. Because if you're walking around being a jerk like Bakugo, but you don't look like Bakugo, then you're just being a jerk. So I would say, like, I think, yeah, the personality and attitude is most important, but you need to be recognizable as a character for people to get it. Otherwise, they're not going to get it, and they're just going to ignore you or think you're a jerk or whatever.
And even if they're not acting so much as the character, this more stems into a general cosplay note. the recognizability is important. There was a person I saw who was complaining on a post because nobody recognized their character from an anime. It was a while back that I saw this post. But the character itself, they had black slacks and a button-down t-shirt. Like, oh, nobody recognized me as this character from this anime. They're just dressed like a normal person.
Or the bartender
Shizuo. Think without the vest, and you're pretty much spot on. Like I played Shizuo, like it's on the beginning frame. Go back a little bit.
I missed the first half of this.
That's okay.
I see.
Yeah. That was for a Metrocon's chess match where I actually fought someone with a stop sign.
I think the part was interesting.
And then at the end, I dropped a vending machine. It was great.
Yeah, so we do a lot of like stage performing at cons. When you go to it's LumiCon and MetroCon are the biggest ones for it. This bottom one was actually so back in the day, skit competitions were a huge thing. Actually, there are 2 MCs coming that were just announced for Hallmat. Their names are it's someone in Stripper Bash. I forget the other guy's name. Yeah, but they like back in the day, like they ruled the skit contest world, like, and they actually did good skits, but it's a lot of work, but you have to do a lot of research on the character for that. And there's definitely some of us older ones that have talked recently, like, we really want to see the skit contests come back, so we need people to want to bring forth these quality skits, and what happened is a lot of people came in and kind of just did like fan servicey stuff that wasn't necessarily the best quality, so the whole community kind of just like, okay, skit contest is kind of a joke, no one cares. But like, you can travel the world with good skit contests. There's a contest, I don't know if you guys know about it, World Cosplay Summit. It is like, it's a big deal. It's this past year, 40 countries competed. Australia actually won this year, and I think it was the first year doing it. Their skit was so good. But
Full sets of monsters.
oh my god, it was great. Oh my god, and they like fought in it, like throwing each other. It was so cool. I highly recommend you look up World Cosplay Summit 2019. Yeah, oh yeah, and it's durable. I don't know if you guys know who do you see the guy that's dressed up as Mai from what's the red
King of Fighters Mai.
King of Fighters Mai. It's the guy that's dressed up and he like flings it off and stuff. He was one of the winners. It was him and his partner. But yeah, so like you can take this and use it pretty much anywhere. I also do shadow. We both work with a group, but I've been doing more actively. We do shadow casting. It's one of the bottom. We did 3 episodes of Steven Universe, which was a trip. Lots of body paint. And lots of characters, because we did hit the diamond. So we had all the rubies and...
Guy pro tip, when you're body painting, it's not smart to have a full body cosplay or body paint and you use an alcohol-based paint and you just shaved your chest.
I mean, girls too, if you do your legs. Basically, do the beach rules, shave the day before. Because if you do body paint, you definitely want to shave hair because it will show. Body paint does not hide much.
Are there any other questions by chance? Now that we have some more people.
Pricing when it comes to cosplay, how much should you be, like, what is your own personal budget, and how do you gauge what a cosplay is going to cost?
Depends on the character. So I am working on No Flutter Sylvia right now, and I have already sunk at least $250 into it. If you commission, it's going to be more. I actually commissioned, you can't see the details on this, but this one right here, a girl for a show actually commissioned me, and with the time it takes, because there's trim, there's like lots of color blocking and stuff, it was a $500 commission because of just the time it took to do it. And if you don't need it, it also depends on what materials you want to use. Because if you're just going to use like basic cotton, be very careful, especially if you're performing or acting in it, because I did a regular, the blue dress for American Mickey's Alice. And the fabric just gave out during one of her runs. Like, it's a really good thing that she ran the show or ran her fight in the costume, because it literally, the fabric just gave out. Because we want to build the fabric. So it really depends on how much you're doing. If you're doing the full armor build, it's gonna cost you, even if you use full.
And another thing that's important is, the durability of the material is important. For example, I've done some fight shows. Not
Some of the items there are just regular clothes like Shizuo and Miguel, but stuff like Handsome Jack, which was a fully custom piece. You have to be able to fight for some of these performances. Check the next room.
Yeah, I'm checking your rates. There's a better.
Yeah. So, and then if you're familiar with an anime called Cabaneri and Fortress, Biba Tori fighting Saber, which is a weird matchup. But I had to be able to roll, jump, fight, kick, get kicked, fall on the ground, and have that costume stay together.
That's actually another thing that I forgot to mention when talking about voice.
Getting kicked.
No, but like aspects of your costume that might make certain things difficult. I was cosplaying Toga yesterday and had fangs in, and I realized how hard it is to say some things with the fangs in. Like I can't do S's. Like I really have to push an S, otherwise it comes out like lispy. And that's something I need to remember for Jessica. Like I can practice her accent all day long, but once I put those teeth in, it's gonna be different because I've got those blocking certain movements and certain ways your teeth and tongue can go for those voices. But same thing with like outfits. Like if you have a character that's heavily armored but tends to be all like woo in the anime, you might not be able to do that because the costume is cumbersome. So yeah, so you kind of have to like kind of, if you want to be more of the character, this is something we have to do for a lot of the shows. Like we're doing a show at LumiCon in Tampa in a couple weeks, and I'm doing Golden Experience. And originally I was going to make him in full foam build with the helmet and everything. I started making the helmet and realized I couldn't do anything in it. So I'm doing kind of a more like casual version of it, like a pair of sunglasses that are painted purple and a bandana, and there's this awesome gold shirt. Just so I could fight it. Because of the choreo we have, I knew the foam would work. So you kind of have to just decide, like, what do you want to sacrifice? Do you want to sacrifice a little bit of the characterization because you're restricted somehow? Do you want to try and figure out a way to just push through it? Or do you want to stay true to what the character looks like? Does that make sense?
And then another note for cosplay in general is you're not always limited to only making stuff from scratch. There's a lot of people that started out. I started out this way was pretty much hunting down thrift stores and Salvation Army and Goodwill for pieces that could fit. For example, Little Mac I ordered online. That's Little Mac. In the beginning frame, I played Miguel from Tekken. That orange shirt and the green pants matched perfectly, and I found it at Goodwill. I'm still amazed that I found it at Goodwill, because who the heck donates an orange shirt like that?
Is that body hair prosthetic? Or?
I am a very hairy guy.
I choose to make a lot of my stuff, but that's because I'm a naturally creative person, and I don't know. There's definitely something like, so I'm actually going to school also for costume work, and one of our projects in the class I was to take things that already existed and modify into something else. And my first project was such a huge failure because the things to modify, it would have just been better to make it from scratch. And sometimes that happens. Also, don't be afraid to buy costumes. Like, it took me years to get out of the mindset of, oh, I need to make all my own stuff so people don't like look down on me, to, I want to cosplay this character, but I really don't feel like making it. I'm just going to buy it.
Like, not everyone wants to make a 2B outfit from scratch.
Yeah, I had a friend that had commissioned me for 9S, and just like life happened or whatever, and we ended up not making it. He still has all the materials, but he's like, you know what, I'm just going to buy it. And he did, and that's totally okay.
Yeah, it's all about that time investment versus just work. Sometimes it's just easier, and it's not worth the trouble and stress. And the crying over a sewing machine at 2 a.m. the day before the con.
The only place I would say be careful is if you do want to get into like the skate contest and the competition stuff, try not to buy your own stuff. Or don't try not to buy costumes. Or commission costumes, try and make it yourself. Because a lot of them require that.
And also, if you do buy a piece, even if it's just like a pair of pants for a cosplay you want to enter in a competition, it's bad form to lie about it. Don't lie. It's not worth the chance. It's not worth the chances of getting disqualified or not selected because you lied about whether or not you bought your pants. A lot of really talented judges can tell if the pants are made or bought.
Yeah, and the judges talk from different cons. We find out. Yeah, but yeah. Never be afraid. If you're just doing it for the fun of doing it and being the character on the floor and stuff like that, or even if you're doing like a show or a panel, if you want to buy it, buy it.
Yeah. So what?
or modify or make it.
Like, yes, I
Whatever you want.
made this from scratch, this bougie Supreme jacket.
Or if you can afford it, commission a cosplayer, because like I know I'm a college student and commissions are one of my best side hustles. Like it helps me so much. I'm not the cheapest because I have the experience and I try and stray people away from using the cheapest materials, because when you use cheaper materials, it's gonna fall apart a lot sooner. Like it's just the nature of it. But yeah, support artists. If you buy art in art style, you can buy cosplay.
We have a little bit more time. Are there any questions before we start wrapping things up?
I should put a page of both myself.
Oh, well.
Okay. If you guys think of any other questions, like my inbox is always open. I am very much in the belief that we are all here for each other. There's very few things that I've figured out how to do or make that I will not share with people. Every now and then, like some cosplayers do, we get like a specific thing we figured out, we want to kind of finesse it and get it perfect before we start sharing it with other people, just because some of us do compete and things like that. But for the most part, like I'm more than happy if you want to grab. I have some cards up here if you want to grab. If you think of any other additional questions about anything about cosplay community, I've been in it for a long time, so
Yeah.
this one's good. His information's here.
That's my information. I'm not so much experienced with the crafty side, although I'm getting there. Most of my experience comes from the acting side and the performing side and the fighting side and getting punched in the face side and not getting punched in the face side. And also doing the punching. It's cool.
And not that anyone asked, but if you want to do a skit that has fighting, make sure you understand that it's stage combat, not real combat. Because we've had issues in the past where we have martial artists come into our fight shows and they don't know how to pull a punch. And I have been almost punched in the throat before. And it's not fun. I mean, it happens. Sometimes you get jazzed and like your partner hits you, and that's why we have receipts. Do you guys know what receipts are? If you get punched, you can punch back. But you have to kind of like okay that ahead of time. Like, it's a policy in one of our shows.
Look, when you're working with someone and you're working with him for 3 months and you accidentally punch them in the nose, sure, they got punched in the nose, it hurts. You know who feels worse than that? The person that accidentally punched them. They didn't want to punch their friend.
Feel worse than?
Yes, because you're all
Would
week.
you feel bad if you punched your fight partner?
All week you do
Yeah, but God, worse than getting punched in the face. I'd rather be the other person.
I think I've just taken too many punches to the
I think
face.
so,
It's
yeah.
like, oh, I feel terrible. You should feel sad because I feel terrible about punching
For the next week, you're gonna be happy about punching. Okay, then next reversal happens.
Next week we're putting ice on it.
I mean, I got stabbed in the leg with a sword, okay? It was not fun and it sucked. I must go.
Where's the next kind of fight or staging or acting thing that you guys are about?
LumiCon, it is.
LumiCon near the end of October.
It's October 25th, 6th, and 7th.
It's like the last weekend.
It's like right before Halloween.
Mhm.
It's a Halloween theme.
We'll both be performing. We're both performing in the fight show. I'm also performing in a dance show where I'm going to be playing a buff Miku Hatsune. That's going to be fun.
But yeah, that's the next convention that we're doing, and we're also doing, or potentially, it hasn't been announced yet, we haven't completely figured out what's, but it hasn't been completely figured out yet, but we recently volunteered for some stuff happening at Holiday Boxing, which will be announced once details get out.
And after that, I have no idea. I might be a part of VentureCon again. I don't know what's going to happen before VentureCon.
Maybe stuff for my, because we do a lot of our shadow casting with a group called the Crazy Random Happenstance. The big con for that is Orlando, but like it's been kind of weird because somebody bought out my event a couple years ago. And some years we're like, yeah, we want you to do shows all 4 days, and sometimes they're just like, we just want one show. So
We'll see what happens. And I think that is time.
yeah, I think Yep. But yeah, thank you guys so much for coming out.
Thanks for putting up with us for an hour.
Hopefully you learned something.